sense, the way he celebrated, the way he was giving himself, feeding me that. Of course I'm going to accept it because this is the art of war, deception. Of course I'm going to accept it and enjoy it. But when I planted the seed, I knew that I'd be fighting Devin Haney next. I knew that he would be one of the guys. I'm going to use it. I'm going to use it against him, and that's the way I feel. It's as real as it comes. This ain't no act. These guys think it's an act. Do yourself a favour, go on YouTube and go see how I was acting in 2016 when I fought Brandon Ogilvy. Exact same ferocious Kambosos. Go do your homework when I fought Lee Sorby or Tifima Lopez. Same person.
You don't change.
I say it the way it is, from the heart. The belts, all this doesn't change who I am.
I have wrestled with an alligator. I done tussled with a whale. I done handcuffed lightning, throw thunder in jail. That's bad. Only last week, I murdered a rock.
I love you.
Angela Stone hospitalized a brick. That's bad. I'm so mean, I make medicine sick. Fast. Last night, I cut the light off my bedroom, hit the switch, was in the bed before the room was dark. All you chumps are gonna bow when I whoop him. All of you, I know you got him. I know you got him, Dick. But the man's in trouble. I'm gonna show you how great I am.
When I was a casual, I thought as a casual, I spoke like a casual, and I looked at boxing like a casual. But when I became a hardcore, I put away all those casual things. This is Michael Rogers, and welcome to BodyWork Boxing. Welcome back. It's Michael Rogers. Welcome to BodyWork Boxing. Greatness is what greatness does. It's fight night. Devin Haney, George Kambosos, undisputed, number 8. Let me break it down real quick for you. Listen, when we analyzing this boxing stuff, right, a lot of times we often need to actually be able to take off and put on different hats. When it comes to Devin Haney, the biggest hat that I had to actually put on and keep on for the longest time was the fact that he was getting ready to be a young man over in a foreign territory without his father present. So from a father-son, that wasn't a good look at first, originally, before Bill was able to get over there, right? But I also have to be able to look at it from a boxing standpoint, because really, when that bell ring and you inside the ring, I mean, it's mano y mano. You know, that's one of the things. That's why boxing is a niche sport, and you know, one thing that we grow to love about it. But I can't help but, you know, like, point out that it's been nothing but panic out of the people. Let's say the Devin only fans. You know, we know what only fans are, the ones who like Devin and only Devin, you know, and everybody else's shit, or the Bud only fans, or the Wilder only fans, or the Canelo only fans. You got a lot of only fans out there for certain fighters, you know what I'm saying, who everybody else saying shit. But I seen a whole lot of plea for patriotism and all this, and I'm like, but just last week before the Tank fight, you know, I'm listening to people talk about Tank and, you know, how the jewelry man is after him, how he got billboards for this. And I'm like, well, is that how we do our countrymen? Leading up before the fight. And I think I had said it before, but George Kambosos is infamous for actually getting into his opponent's head. Remember, against T.O., he was on his Bane shit. You guys adapted to the dark. I was born in it. Remember when he was talking? That was him. You know, Bane was never more, you know, superior than Batman, other than, I guess, really, you know, his outthinking. You know, his skills in him, be able to outthink Batman. You know, that's why he was always a thorn in Batman's side. But we had Devin Haney, who coming in, you know, with the questionable resume, and, you know, people get so offended when you say he hasn't fought a current champion. I mean, I was thinking that his OnlyFans his OnlyFans and his supporters, the ones that do these shows and talk about him or whatever, they get so offended when you point out the truth. And I was like, well, that was because Loma didn't want to fight. That's because these guys didn't want. I was like, look, that aside from that, the fact that he did not fight a current champion, you shouldn't get upset about it. This is a proven fight, but the panic button was pushed. And I'm like, see, this is what I've been trying to tell Devin all this time through my videos about him, is that you can't listen to some of these dudes that's actually in your corner, because the message, it was panic before Bill actually was able to get over there. The odds are stacked all against him. Like, hold on, what odds? When George Kambosos lives in Australia, he went all the way to the Mecca and beat Teofimo Lopez in his backyard. But now we're supposed to be like, oh my gosh, the odds are, they're not Australian judges. And in one breath, they say that, oh man, people saying he gonna beat the snot out of George. He just way too much for him. I heard one dude say that Devin Haney was more explosive than Teofimo Lopez. I said, see, this is where being a fan, like, we know that Teo was pretty much known for his athleticism and his explosiveness, his explosive power. You know, I would say, I said right behind Tank, he's one of the most concuss delivering boxers, active boxers today. Devin was not known for his explosion. He's known for being a skilled, polished, you know, sharp shooting boxer with defensive oriented first. So we gotta have rational talks when we're talking about these boxers. So I thought that the message that they were sending was panic, panic, panic. The whole rat discussion and this and this and this is like, it's the pot calling the kettle black. Devin was giving information to George Kambosos about Tio, his fellow countryman, about how he was going through marital problems and how he can't see his son, and you know, he's at the hookah lounge and all this. And George Kambosos used that information and the fact that Devin was providing that information to stir up some stuff inside the camp. It's almost like he took a whack at the bee's nest and it was like mass hysteria. I'm like, okay, if Kambosos is just gonna get washed and he's nothing, and Devin's going in as the overwhelming favorite in this fight as far as the odds, what odds are stacked against him? The fact that he got to go to Australia? I mean, greatness is what greatness does. Now, I thought that George Kambosos had the mental edge up until I saw that he missed weight. We're not going to just slide under the table like that's not anything. It means that somewhere you can say whether it was professionalism, whether it was somebody who had an oversight in the camp, whether it was a loss of focus, you know, I don't care if it's a couple ounces or not. Those are the kind of confidence boosting things that one fighter can do to another that can already start to manipulate and shape the way things are going to go inside the ring. The weigh-in, the face-off, you know, and any encounters up until they jump in the ring. Those are the critical times. Those are the critical times. When you get to see whether somebody is weight drained. You know, I don't think that George looked weight drained. He tried to come out and clean it up and say maybe it's the art of deception on his Bane shit, but you know, we ain't buying that. This is what I think. I think that if Devin Haney stays in that Philly shell for too long and he's not as accurate as he needs to be with that jab, I think George Kambosos is going to hook and crook all day long. You know, I think that Devin Haney's in the tricky spot because you want to say you want to keep Kambosos running and, you know, resetting his feet and everything, but perception versus reality is, the perception is they're going to think that Kambosos is actually dictating that fight. So there are going to be times when Devin Haney is going to have to engage. Who wins that exchange 9 times out of 10? Do the punches land? That people like Tim Bradley and them like to say, oh, ooh, ah, and then when you go back to the replay, you see that it was just barely grazed on the shoulder or it hit the glove, and they like, oh, well, it looked like it was landing. It's pretty crispy, but you got the crowd. You got a lot of things. Basically, Devin has to jab. He has to be aggressive. He has to be very effective in his punching, And I think that he really is going to have to keep his composure, because I think there's going to be a point in time when both fighters get hurt. I think George and his cockiness is going to make him run into something, but he's one of them people that when he make a mistake, he's pretty much not going to make that mistake again, and then he's going to actually try to get his get back. And he is, I mean, they keep saying he don't have any power. That's why I say this is Wilder Fury all over again. People who, you know, don't like when I say that, think I'm always hating on, why you always hating on Wilder? Why you always hating on Devin? And I be like, why you always hating on Tank? Anyways, man, we all got our favorite fighters. I think that the young Lord Devin Haney, he's going into the fight with a slight edge here with this weight, you know, this missed weight thing. I think that it was set up all along for Bill Haney to get there last minute to sell this fight. Because Devin Haney said in the next morning, we're all leaving at 9 o'clock. He already knew that everybody was leaving at 9 o'clock the next morning. So I'm like, oh, okay, I guess they had extra tickets, you know, just in case somebody, you know, was going to want to come back with them, because they already had, you know, a means for everybody to leave the next day after the fight at 9 a.m. to include Bill. So I don't know. I kind of think it was orchestrated for him to come in. It adds to the story. They had to build this fight some way, because let everybody tell it going into this fight, George Kambosos ain't shit. And then it was all this crying about, oh man, why are they trying to do this? They trying to get every competitive. I already told you, it's already outlaws for if George win, loaded gloves, and they already talking about the refs and, you know, all this stuff. They gotta fight. I think, and they asked the question, is the pressure more on Devin Haney or George Kambosos? And I say, of course it's on Devin Haney. Of course. It's just like when Canelo went up to go see Bivol. It's the same thing's going to happen. The same thing is going to happen. If George Kambosos win, the same thing is going to happen. How they were saying, oh, no, man, you don't stand a chance, and, you know, this and that, and they discount everything that Kambosos did, and how he don't belong to deserve, and he ain't this, and he don't deserve no respect, and all the lies he did, and they saying all of that now, but let George Kambosos pull this out. Let him pull it out. Either they're going to try to make it seem like, oh man, George Kambosos is the best thing since sliced bread. You know, people in hindsight going to be like, man, yeah, well, we knew George Kambosos could rise to the test, and he showed, and he demonstrated, and he did all this. So they're going to be professional analysts after the fight. What's my take? I think Kambosos wins this fight. I would love for Devin to win, but I think that the overconfidence of Devin is going to play against him. I think that George being able to have the benefit of the doubt when punches landed, and, you know, the reaction of the crowd, and the fact that he is actually really aggressive, and it's effective aggression. And he's been rising to the challenge with these big name fights. When you talk about Mickey Bay and T.O., you know, and actually having dropped both of them, and I mean, we're not talking about Elbow didn't do that to Teofimo Lopez's face when it was bust open. Something did it. So for the man not to have no power or not to have no whatever, I mean, I think that they're sleeping on him. And I would say that George Kambosos does pull it off. It's almost like along with the Jeff Mayweather thing. You know, that's my prediction. It's not hate like Paulie said. And again, go back and look at the video when I put up that Devin said he will never let a white boy beat him. What 50 Cent say? You gotta do something, baby. But I look forward to it. You know what I'm saying? I look forward to the fight. I like to know, you know, if you see this before the fight, what's your prediction? Put your prediction down below in the comments, and let's see who right. You know, because right now they saying Devin going in and stop George. I'm like, man, Devin going in there for a rude awakening. And it's much like it's between what Paulie Malignaggi said and what Jeff Mayweather said as far as this fight in a realistic approach. As from a pure boxing standpoint. Hopefully Devin do go over there and get the job done, because I want to see Devin and Tank. You know, and that's just, so I want Devin to win. Do I think he get the job done? I'm not sure. It just depends on if George Kambosos changes his plan like T.O. did against him, because we all thought T.O. was going to spank George Kambosos, and he proved a lot of us wrong. People lost money, and it's going to be a sad day in the boxing community if Devin go out there and pull a Deontay Wilder against his is now his Tyson Fury in George Ferocious Kambosos. Anyways, man, here at BodyWork, we don't take things for face value. We do that body work.
All right, I believe you, but my Tommy gun don't. Get down on your knees and tell me you love me.
My word, I do what I do. He knows what I'm about to tell him right now. It's Mr. Keep running your mouth. That's what I do.
I just feel like I'm the champ, and at the end of the day, I'm just a fighting motherfucker. It doesn't matter. Inside, outside, I can just fight. So I just feel like if it gets down to the wire, we gotta lock it up. I'm out on top.
Hey, as you can see how I'm looking, I stay solid. I'm always solid. I stay fucked solid up, man. You know what I'm saying? To the fans that know.
We do that job outside the ring. I'm a fighter, like I said before. Ain't no safety on the clock, so